Okay. Good afternoon to all. Today, you are all being welcome to this class. Our ASEAN class is meant for the rest of the religious systems, and we shall discuss today the religions like Islam, then Zoroastrianism, um, Confucianism, then Taoism, and Shintoism. All these are different religions which we have to discuss. Let us start with Islam, and I will try to give a very um, comprehensive knowledge with regard to this Islam, covering all the different aspects which have been therefore prescribed in this particular section. That Islam, as we have discussed Christianity in the last class, like that of Christianity, Islam is also being considered as a universal religion, taking the number of people, those who have therefore accepted it as a faith. And Islam is a prophetic religion. This is being founded by Hazrat Muhammad, and that is founded in the beginning of 7th century AD. And he belongs to Arabia, which shares common Semitic origin with Judaism and Christianity. So, it is a holy book of Islam is known as the Quran, which relates about 120 prophets who carried the message of God to different people at different times. And Muhammad, he is also considered as a prophet who was therefore taken back just to spread um, the, the, the message of the God. And but there is a specific mention about 25 prophets, and to name them like they are Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and others, which Muhammad is also the prophet who is considered the last prophet among all. He is not a begotten son of God like that of Jesus, who was a begotten son of God, but he is not a begotten son. But he is a messenger, a prophet, and a leader who awakened and slumbering humanity in order to bring home tidings of God. Muhammad, though the founder of the religion, that is Islam, is not designated as Mohammedanism or Islam. Islam is originated from uh, three literal root, that is S, I, and M, which means voluntary solution to God. Believers demonstrates submission to God by worshipping God and following His commands and rejecting polytheism. This is purely a monotheistic religion, and therefore they do deny this polytheism, that is believing in many gods. The word Islam also means peace and submission and obedience to the command of the God, that is Allah, who is one, the creator, the master, and the sovereign of the whole universe. An adherent of Islam is known as Muslim. So therefore, Islam is the religion, and those who follow this Islam, they are known as the Muslim. There exists a distinction between prophet and messenger. As already told you that Muhammad is a prophet, he is not like a messenger. There is a difference is there between this messenger and the prophet. The Muslim believes in the prophet, and these prophets are human, not divine. And here, Muhammad, who is therefore accepted as a messenger, is a human being, is not a divine being. Islamic theology says that all of God's messengers preached the message of Islam, submission of the will of God. The messengers do not possess free will and worship God in total obedience. That means they are not free. They only try to share the messages of God, and therefore they are known as messengers, and therefore they are not free. Their duties therefore includes communicating revelations from God. That means he tried to communicate whatever revelations he has with regard to God to the common people. Common people. Therefore, he also tried to glorify God, recording every person's actions and taking the person's soul at the time of death. This is the function of the messenger. All messengers are commonly considered as to be prophet. However, all prophets are not considered as messengers. The Quran like to quote passages from the New Testament and may rank a messenger higher than a prophet. The messenger therefore is placed in a higher position than the prophet. Prophet has no freedom, but messenger has. God sends both prophet and messenger as givers of good news and as administrators of their people. Though they are all both are being sent by God, but there is a difference. And the messengers they are placed in a higher position than the prophet. Prophet don't have any freedom, but messengers are to some extent they are free. Anyway, that Muhammad is considered as a prophet. Muhammad, which means highly praised. This is the meaning of the name or the word Muhammad. And he was born into a leading tribe of Makkah named as Quraysh, and he was born in the year 570 AD and founded Islam, which is out and out monotheistic. Monotheistic is in contrast to that of polytheism. Polytheism means that believing in many gods, whereas monotheism that believing in one God, which is worshiping God or personal God. And here he talks about the monotheism, that is one. It was a departure from the received beliefs and the practices of the time. In his childhood, he witnessed the chaotic condition in political, social, and religious lives of the people in Arabia, which he may call a barbaric world. That was his experience in childhood, and that therefore is a period which can be come to be a barbaric period, and that which he has witnessed during childhood. Their religion was therefore polytheism, worshipping to nearly 360 idols during that particular time. In childhood, he has seen that people they are worshipping many gods, about 350 gods, and that's why they are polytheism. And there is we find there's a loose sex, gambling, blood feud. These are all very common during that time. To describe it, we find Huston is a great thinker. He has therefore points out that isolated in the midst of an effete and chaotic society. That is therefore the period which is a chaotic society, is a very barbaric society, and which therefore influenced him to a great extent, and therefore he wanted to save the common people from the clutches of the all the sufferings, and then he can could succeed in his goal, and therefore he explicated this, propounded this monotheism, that is Islam. Muhammad has lost his parents at the early age and was brought up by his uncle named Abu Talib. He married a rich widow named as Kharija, under whom he was serving and who was about 15 years older to him. He used to go regularly to a cave in Mount Hira outside the city of Makkah for his meditation on God. Finally, God revealed himself to Muhammad through the angel Gabriel. He then realized that Allah, whom the Maccan worshipped as a god, was not one of many gods, not even the greatest among them, but is the only God. This is the realization. Spiritual realization is that there are no many gods, there is only one God, that is being named as Allah, and Allah is not the greatest among all, or that is rather, he can be said to be the only God. That means monotheism that he tried to preach. Um, Thus, Islam came to exist, which was essentially a non compromising crusade against polytheism, idolatry, ritualism, and superstitions of the time, for which Muhammad has faced vehement opposition from the priests, vested interest, powerful minority of the time. That means he has faced a lot of problem because of his particular um, profess that God is one and He is Allah. There is no other God over and above Him. He is not even absolute, but He is only God, not the highest among all. That means there is no God over and above is Allah. Allah is the only God, because of which He therefore suffers a lot from outside, from public, from the priest, from among the powerful people. Anyway, at the age of 40, he realized Allah um, and got the summon from him to carry the divine message to the people. And when he was 40 years old, he realized this truth and therefore get the command from Allah that now it is time you therefore spread this particular message that Allah is the only God. And that is the command he got from the God. Then Khalida, his wife, was inducted to the path as the first follower of Islam. That means his wife was therefore first inducted to this particular Islam religion. Later on, it grew into a world religion by extending its branch. Now you will find it is being there almost entire globe. After a decade of his preaching Islam in Makkah, he left for um, Athrib, which is known as Medina later on. That was at that time known as Athrib, and now it is known as Medina. From Makkah, he went to Medina with a group of his followers in the year 622 AD. This flight to Medina is known as Hijrat. This is known as Hijrat in um, the their language, Islamic language. We can say known as Hijrat. He became a prophet come administrator there in Medina. He was become administrator and also prophet who professes this Islam and try to spread this among different people. And he continued this job till 632 AD, when he therefore died or his soul is departed from his body. This is the his life. We can really say in brief. Then the Quran, as already we told you, is the sacred book of Islam. Quran is therefore sacred book, and that is the sacred book of the Islam religion or Muslim followers, which occupies a vital place in their life. Prophet Muhammad has a high regard for Quran. He used to call it a standing miracle. Quran means the recitation. It contains the words of God, Kalam e Allah, in its pure and pristine form, which were revealed to Muhammad. Anything which is revealed to Muhammad that are therefore is contained in that particular sacred book known as Quran. Later on, it was codified by the follower of Muhammad, who was recited by them. It is claimed that the Quran contains all the truth needed for the guidance of mankind. Its message is universal. It affirms the truth of all previous revelations and the righteousness of all prophets. The Quran consists of 114 chapters, which are also known as Surah. The first chapter contains the daily prayer of the Muslims. Though the central doctrine of Quran is strictly monotheistic, that is, Allah is the only one God, yet its impelling force is moral, giving much stress on economic and social justice. Though from standpoint of religion, you can say that it is stresses on that of monotheism, that Allah is one and only one reality, but also it gives importance also other aspects um, on ethics and social justice. The Quran is therefore supported by three more texts. They are named as the hadiths dealing with sayings of um, Muhammad, and the second one is Hasid that explains the practice of the practices, and third one is Sharia, and that Sharia is the ethical injunctions in form of doers and does nots. Means that is the ethical codes, what to do and what not to do, prescriptions and prohibitions. These are there for the other three books which are also being supported to with that of your Quran. Muslim theology centers around four basic concepts, and that is Allah, then second is creation, third is man, and day of judgment. These are the most important concepts with which the theology of Islam centers around. Let us have a brief idea of all these concepts, which therefore constitute the very fundamental features of Islam. Islam is strictly monotheistic, already I have told you. It believes in one God, and that is known as Allah, who is the pivot around which the entire Islamic doctrine therefore revolves. The Muslim kalima, and that is known as La ilaha illallah, that excludes the idea of any equal or partner with Allah. That Allah is one and only one reality. There is no other reality over and above reality. Similar to Allah or over and above Allah. There's nothing like this. That means it alleviates only one reality known as Allah, and that is therefore leads to monotheism. All adorations, worship, glorification, and obedience are due to Him alone. So it is said, He sends down the angels with revelation by His command on whosoever of His servants He pleased, saying, Warn that there is no God but I. So take me alone for your protector. This is what I find that Allah Himself try to point out that He is the only God and there is no other over and above Him. There is unbridgeable chasm between God and man. He is known only when He desires to reveal Himself through meditation or angels or directly to the prophets in sleep or waking. God is known only when one is graced by Him. Muhammad is thus the prophet through which the message of God that reached the common people. Therefore, he is just a bridge between the man and that God. God in the heaven, or God at the absolute, and man at the bottom in To these two, therefore, the threads, the Muhammad, who they are to connect or bridges. He is revealed to the prophets through his various names. He is called as Hayat of life. His Hayat or life, um, aim or knowledge, that is Qadrat, that is power, or Iradat, that is will, or Sama, that is or hearing, Basar, or seeing, and Kalam, or speaking. Various aspects of divine existence is therefore described in the Quran. So, in the Quran, we find like this with regard to Allah that Allah, there is no God but He, the ever living, the self subsisting, the all sustaining slumber overtakes, overtakes Him, not sleep. To Him belongs whatsoever is in heaven and whatsoever in the earth, who is He that will intercede with Him except by His leave. He knows what has gone before them and what will come after them, but they encompass nothing of his knowledge save that which he pleases. His knowledge comprehends the heavens and the earth, and the care of them therefore burdens him not. He is the highest, the great. That is the description of Allah, which also is found from that of the Quran. Allah means the powerful, the mighty. He is the creator, preserver, and restorer of the world. Nothing takes place without his knowledge and will. He is the supreme arbiter of all that happens, small or big. He is also the moral governor of the cosmos. He is transcendent but not immanent. He is transcendent, that means it's beyond space and time, that transcends everything, but he is not immanent. So, God being transcendent and not physical, the essential identity between man and him is therefore denied. This is called the uncompromising monotheism in Islam, which differs from that of Christian and Judaic monotheism in one hand and from the Vedantic monotheism on the other. And you know very, very well that Judaic and Christian monotheism, that is creator, preserver, restorer, everything. And here he is transcendental only, he is not immanent. And that therefore, in that respect, therefore, is differs from all, even from the Vedantic concept of reality. Okay, the Quran therefore propounds the theory of creation and holds that the universe was created by God. Though Islam accepts the Judaic and Christian concept of creation, in spirit it does not therefore subscribe to the thesis of creation de novo. De novo means new beginning. The creation, therefore, is not a new beginning. That is the that it admits. As such, the creation of the world is not therefore out of nothing. The world is therefore created in time and comes to an end on the day of judgment. Creation of the world was not an art or sport or caprice, but has a definite purpose. That is therefore purposive or teleological. And the purpose is stated differently in different verses of the that Quran. Here, creation with its grandeur, design, and splendor speaks eloquently of the Creator and evokes sense of awe and faith. Creation is finite and contingent. Space and time are also finite because they are created along with the multiplicities. So the space and time are limited, conditional, because that is also created by the God, the Allah. It as everything small or big is a handiwork of God, which are being created by God. The creation therefore bears the unmistakable stamp of his greatness and glory. Nature follows a predetermined course at the behest of God. The sun, the moon, air, and light follow their allotted course under the direction of the God. The world has a purpose. It is the training ground for the mortals, as provides the opportunity to understand what is right and what is wrong. He makes right to pass into the day and makes the day to pass into the night. He hath subdued the sun and the moon to service. Each runneth into an appointed term, such is Allah, your Lord. This is being described also in Quran. Thus, the world is not a manifestation of God, but its creation. This is the creation, it's not manifestation. Man, that means there is a purpose behind it, and that's why it is being created by Him and not manifested mechanically. Man is the best creation of God and therefore occupies the highest rung in the hierarchy of created being. And Quran describes like this: He, it is who hath placed you as viceroy of the earth. That means here God has created man as the viceroy of the earth, means he is therefore the highest being, or so to say, the highest created being in the earth. God has created man with a purpose. The purpose is that he should receive the impress of God's attributes and should become a manifestation of them within the limits of his capacities. God therefore expects man to equip himself with the attributes of God. And that's why God wants that man should be like God. Means he must therefore be equipped with all these divineness, goodness of God. And therefore he must be in his image, must develop or grow in his image. The universe is therefore founded by God for the enrichment of consummation of his life. Even the angels are therefore commanded to assist man in the fulfillment of righteous design. That is the purpose of creation, and man again is being created by God to play the vital role in this world, and he has to prepare himself as in the design of God, and therefore he has to lead a life of righteousness. Man, being superior to other animals, is therefore endowed with full freedom and that are also free will and capacity to think and know. That is the uniqueness of man, that he is therefore superior to others in the sense that he is having this capacity to think and also to know. On account of having free will, man therefore enjoys the freedom to obey the commands of God, thereby learn the paradise for himself or act to the contrary, for which he is therefore condemned to hell. That means he has to choose what to do and what not to do. He will choose that which will therefore lead him to heaven, and he will choose not to do which will ultimately lead him to the hell. That is the freedom which have been therefore assigned to him. Since God reposes trust in man, the highest good for him consists in living a devout servant to him. He has no right but only duties. Life becomes worthy only when it is therefore devoted to prayer and service to God and expect His grace. So man is to extend himself to the service of God and expect the grace from Him. But the worst thing that can happen to man is that by misuse of free will, he therefore courts his own ruination. That happens, as you know very well, that free will is there, man is free to exercise his free will, freedom, and therefore either he chooses good or chooses bad. By choosing the good, therefore he becomes good and therefore attains goodness with the service of God and then therefore get the blessings or grace of the God. And by choosing wrong things, evil things, so therefore he is indulged in sin, and therefore he is therefore forbidden from this goodness, and therefore he is passed into hell, we can well say. Ruin. His life therefore is ruined. But pertaining to the question of good and evil, a genuine question always therefore bites us that whether man is created by God is good or has evil in him. This is the question. Problem of evil, you know very well. This can be raised here that when the man, whether man is created by God as good or evil. The answer is clearly mentioned in the Quran that Adam and Eve, the first man and woman, were given freedom of choice by God, and they had the um, power to abide by the order of the God or to disobey it. That means they had the freedom whether they will obey or disobey. They choose to disobey God, and therefore they ate the forbidden fruit, as you know it very well. That they were forbidden to take eat the fruit, but they did not obey the command of God, and therefore they ate the forbidden fruit of the tree. This implies that it is not God who makes man to do good or evil. Rather, it is the man himself who, therefore, every circumstance of life chooses to obey or disobey. And therefore, he will be either good or bad, or good or follow evil. That, therefore, is his own choice. It is not God who has made him good or bad, but it is the man who is assigned with the freedom. Therefore, he chooses whether he will be good or he will be bad. And now let's coming the concept of day of judgment, which is also another important in Islam, that is intimately connected with the idea of the uh, continued existence of the soul after the dissolution of the physical body. The body dies, but soul is not. What we ordinarily call death, that affects only body and not the soul, and which continues to enjoy some sort of life after the physical death. Soul is not dead, only body dies, and soul therefore remains as it is. Therefore, it is not mortal like the dead body. The soul remains oppressed till the last day when the world comes to an end and all the dead rise up to the blowing of the trump, trumpet. That is the day of judgment. Everyone will that particular day, they have to be there, they have to wait and to the command of the decision or judgment of the God. So the soul remains oppressed till then. Till then, the soul therefore reunite with the bodies, and they are therefore summoned before God by the angels and wait His final decree. One is therefore accorded a right place, either in heaven or in hell, depending on one's righteous or wrongful deeds. This is in consonance with the doctrine of karma, as you know, as you sow, so shall you reap. As is the action, so is also the reward or punishment. The dispensed by Allah, that is God. The Quran therefore says, "It is the truth from the Lord of you that you all." Then whosoever will, let him believe, and whosoever will, let him disbelieve. Further, it is being said, and it says that as for those who believed and did good works, they will be made happy in a garden. But as for those who disbelieved and denied our revelations of the hereafter, such will therefore brought to doom. This is how we find that is therefore the day of judgment, that decision judgment is made with regard to the soul, whether they will be go to heaven or they will go to hell, taking their deeds or the performances taking into account. After the final judgment, the is pronounced. one has to pass through the bridge, and that is called the Al-Sarit. Al-Sirat. For the virtuous one, the road is too wide so that one finds a smooth and easy way to heaven. But for evildoers, the bridge is too narrow and also dangerous as the edge of the sword leading to hell. Thus, man is free to choose his destiny by following righteous or wrong action. Thus, man is not born as a sinner, nor he is born as wholly good. He does commit sin by disobeying God's command and by exercising his own freedom of choice. And one attains salvation, or that is known as um, Najat, that is in Najat, by turning back from sinful life and carrying out the will of God. Though believing in Muhammad as the prophet or Rasul of God is necessary for securing Najat, that is Mukti liberation, but the main instrument of the goal is doing good deeds. That is therefore the whole thing important. That therefore gives the ethics of um, Islam religion. The main focus of the Quran is to teach the common mass how to lead an ethical life or a good life. So a straight path is pointed out by it, which is not found in other religious scriptures. And that's why it is being said by Huston Smith like this. Compared with other religions, Islam spells out the way of life. It proposes, it pinpoints, nailing it down through explicit injunctions. The consequence is a definiteness about this religion that gives it a flavor all its own. A Muslim knows where he stands. He knows who he is and who God is. He knows what his obligations are. This is from Houston. Okay. The contents of this straight path can be divided in two sections. First one contains faith in the ultimate truth, that is the kalima, and prayer, that is namaz, which regulates the entire personal life of a Muslim. And the other consists of three duties such as the observance of the fast, that is known as Ramadan, pilgrimage of Makkah, that is Hajj, and charity, that is Jihad, which deal with the social life. And together they constitute with what have been called the five pillars in Islam. These are all therefore five pillars which are therefore take care of the religious and ethical aspect and also the social aspect, all different aspects into account. The first pillar is the creed of the faith in which every Muslim must believe. The most vital part of Islamic religion is to have faith in the unity of Godhead. La ilaha illa Allah, which means that there is no God other than Allah, and Allah is therefore the ultimate reality. And therefore, they must have faith in Muhammad as his prophet, the holiness of the Quran, and the day of judgment, which also form an integral part of the Muslim faith. They lay stress on living the life of faith, surrender, discipline, and brotherhood. Faith is therefore expressed in action in form of discipline and unconditional submission to God, which eventually therefore secures one the highest good. And the so-called faith which does not lead to action is a mere belief and therefore half-hearted conviction. A faithful is one who not only believes but also lives a life accordingly. This is the most important thing that is being emphasized in Islam. They must have the faith in God. as the ultimate reality. The second pillar, therefore, of the Islam is known as prayer. prayer, prayer, or is also known as namaz. The Quran therefore prescribes a sincere and heartfelt prayer for each Muslim, both in individuals and community life. That you must keep in mind that ethics and morality always therefore emphasizes that goodness of individual and the society. Therefore, your prayer is offered to God or to Allah, not for only one own sake, but for the social sake also, for the community sake. In order to keep the life in the true perspective of attaining the goal by preventing himself as the center of his life and activities. This forms a necessary part of life. So it is necessary for every human being, including infant, infant means everybody. That means irrespective of caste, sorry, irrespective of age and other considerations, that everybody, because it is the principal means of establishing communion with God. In prayer to God, no intermediary like a priest is necessary. Only in the case of congregational prayers or mass prayers, you can say, on holy days, which take place in different mosques on different religious festivals like Eid ul Fitr or Eid ul Zuha. It is led by the Imam, who is a member of the congregation but not an intermediary. Anyway, there should be an intermediary between the man who prays and the God to whom the prayer is being offered. The Muslims are enjoined to pray 5 times a day strictly at the appointed time, that is at dawn, noon, afternoon, sunset, and nightfall. Each time the prayer takes place for 15 to 30 minutes, always facing towards Makkah. Prayer or namaz, in its positive aspect, therefore develops a faith in the mind of the devotee to have a secure place in heaven by keeping mind away from all nebulous wandering and preoccupations. Prayer therefore purifies one's mind and develops one's faith to become one with the Absolute. That is the whole purpose behind it. Before prayer, one has to clean hands, feet, face, part of the head, put on clean dress, and have a pure and unruffled mind. The Muslim prayer consists of two parts. One part praise God and expresses gratitude to Him for His gifts and blessings, and the second contains supplications. So each prayer begins with the utterance Allahu Akbar, means God is the great. The following is a part of the typical Muslim prayer. This is the meaning, you can say like this: Thanks to my Lord, He is the adorable and only to be adored. My Lord, the eternal, the even existing, the cherisher, the true sovereign, whose mercy and might overshadow the universe, the regulator of the world and the light of the creation. He is our worship. To him belong all worship. O Lord, grant me the love of thee. Grant that I may love those that love thee. This is the whole meaning, summary of the prayer, which is offered by the devotee Muslims to Allah. This is that comes in the second pillar. And third pillar of Islam is known as charity, or that is known as zakat, which can be translated into English as beneficence. Beneficence. Therefore, they give importance on the charity, and the charity, therefore, not only to human beings, also to non-human beings. Okay, this is a virtue which has been therefore prescribed by the Quran to be cultivated by each Muslim to share his fortunes with less privileged ones. The main purpose is to reduce the great disparities in the economic condition of various sections of the society. So therefore, it is having not only religious significance but also having economic and social significance. This is meant for the reduction of social disparity, economic disparity in the society. By imposing the poor tax of, or zakat by 2.5% on the earning of the wealth, Islam therefore seeks to bridge a gap between the rich and the poor of the society. Quran therefore testifies that a single act of charity is good enough to atone for many a sin. Besides the routine charity, one is free to contribute more on other occasions, especially during Ramadan, which is considered as a great act of religious merit. In this connection, it is to be noted that Islam discourages begging. It therefore always gives importance on charity, that one has to extend himself to others in form of help, charity, but not begging. Don't give alms to others, but you extend your help to others so that the disparity, the differences can be mitigated. The Prophet called on the Muslim to rise above it and to work and earn their livelihood. This is the third pillar. Then fourth pillar therefore consists of fasting, or that is known as Ramadan. You know, Ramadan. This is going on now. The Quran enjoins it upon every Muslim as an obligatory duty, except pregnant women, sick, old, and travelers. It says, O believers, fast is therefore prescribed for you as it was prescribed to those before you, so that you may fear God. And that is therefore meant for all fasting. The ninth month of the Muslim calendar is observed as Ramadan. He is set apart for the purpose. One has to fast without food and water between dawn and dusk, sunset. Fasting has a vital role in facilitating spiritual progress. It has salutary effects both on the body and mind. It does not merely consist in the act of denying oneself food and water, but affords opportunity for self-control and positive ideation on God. This is the positive effect on it. During the last 10 days of the month, many people stay continuously in the mosque and devote their whole time in reading Quran and in remembrance of God. At the end of the month, fasting, the festival of Eid is celebrated as a mark of breaking of the fast. On this day, Muslims meet, greet, and embrace each other. It needs to be mentioned that the month of Ramadan is observed by the Muslims to commemorate two important events which has taken place during the month of such as the revelation of the Quran to Muhammad and his historic journey to that of Medina. These are the two historic events, and because of that, this month is very considered to be very sacred. And during this month, therefore, this Ramadan that is being celebrated or being observed. The fifth and the last pillar of Muslim is pilgrimage, or pilgrimage to the Kaaba, known as the House of God in Makkah. Besides, it contains the sacred well Zamzam. At least once in the lifetime, a Muslim who can afford should undertake the pilgrimage, that is Hajj, to Makkah. Those who can afford, those who can be capable of spending money for the visit to Makkah, they should at least visit once in the lifetime. It is observed during the 12th month of the Islamic calendar. The pilgrimage falls 10 weeks after the Eid festival. While at Makkah, one has to perform certain rituals like moving around the Kaaba 7 times, every time kissing the black stone, hurling stones at the pillar at Mina, which is therefore constructed as devil. The pilgrim has to discard his usual clothing at a certain point and put on the ihram, which consists of only two pieces of white garments covering the body except the head, hand, and the right shoulder. One has not to put on shoes but use sandals, and that is therefore permitted. On completion of 10th day, one has to put off the prescribed robe and put on the normal dress. And besides religious significance, Hajj has a social significance too. The pilgrims hailing from all parts of the world forget their individual differences in respect of color, creed, wealth, class, rank, social status, and treat others as their brothers. So Hajj is a call for unity and universal brotherhood to the followers of Islam. During this pilgrimage, the pilgrims proceed to Medina to supplement their knowledge of historic places connected with the life of Prophet Muhammad. Then the concept of human brotherhood and Muslim solidarity are two important characteristics of Islam. Racial bigotry and the distinction between high and low was abolished by the Prophet. He gave the call to brotherhood in the following words: O mankind, lo, we have created you, male and female, and have made you nations and tribes, and you may know one another and be friends. You are all brothers and are all equal. None of you can claim any privilege of any superiority over any other. An Arab is not to be preferred to a non Arab. And thus he was against slavery and polygamy, which were also widely prevalent among the people of Arab during that time. Polygamy, marrying a number of wives. So therefore, that was not being appreciated by Muhammad himself. Anyway, uh, though he called not up, he could not abolish them, but tried to therefore restrict it as much as possible. So his injunction was that slaves and servants should be treated properly. The servant was to be given the same food and dress as the masters. Because of such freedom given to the slaves, they reached high position in Muslim society. So the early rulers of India are the example who therefore belong to the dynasty of slaves. That's, that's you know very well. Similarly, the status of women in the society was improved to a considerable position by assigning some rights to the Muslim women and also by imposing some restrictions in social customs by the Prophet. The polygamy was restricted to only four and not beyond that, with a stringent condition. That means polygamy is allowed, but that is allowed under to condition and must be limited maximum to number four, not that. One can therefore only go for five wives, four wives, not more than that. He says, you may marry two or three or four wives, but not more. But if you cannot deal equitably and justly with all, you shall marry only one. His other reforms includes the stoppage of conditional marriage and temporary marriage of Islamic women, introduction of the right to inherit father's property, prohibition of adultery, and assigning freedom to the woman and to give her consent for marriage. They are all there for social. reformations which therefore being implemented by Muhammad during his time because he has gone through all the problems, social problems that was found in the society during his period. One thing which needs to be highlighted is that of the concept of jihad, which is very important concept of jihad, which then occupies a significant role in Islam, and that is more misleading um, than understood. Islam does not therefore encourage passive tolerance of evil. It rather calls upon the faithful to remain in ever readiness to sacrifice anything and everything for the cause of Allah and the rule of the righteousness on earth. That means he gives much more importance on the call of Allah and righteousness, virtues, or that of morality to be followed in by each and every human being. In the present scenario, the Islamic fanatics using force on other religious faith in the name of jihad, calling this as war of religion. As a result, we find there is horror, breach of peace, innocent killing, and there are all these things that are taking place everywhere, which is due to the misinterpretation of the jihad. The Quran condemns the holy war and teaches the virtue of toleration. It lays down that there should be no compulsion in religion. It therefore declares that to everyone they have a law and a way, and if God had pleased, He would have made you all and one people, but He hath done otherwise. That is, the Prophet Muhammad has commissioned to give peace of mind and peace to the spirit to individuals and humanity as a whole, so that the people might live in peace and prosperity on this world, and they will enjoy peace and prosperity in the life after. So the Quran says, "There has come to you from Allah a light and a book, wherewith Allah therefore guides all who seek His pleasure to the ways of peace and safety, and leads them out to the depth of darkness, into the light of His grace, and guides them towards the right way." Jihad thus does not mean mindless use of force against non-believer or the non-conformists. Since everyone is created by God, all fellow men are bound to one another by the bond of brotherhood. So, use of force is essentially directed against those who are opposed to and stand as veritable barrier on the path of righteousness. The evil is to be encountered by use of force only as the last choice and with a sole intention that it is being undertaken to establish the rule of God on earth. So he was against this jihad. Jihad is to be properly understood. It is felt that in the present day global scenario, when terrorism, fanaticism are growing in different parts of the globe in the name of religion, especially due to the religious intolerance, and true religious spirit is therefore declining day by day, and everywhere, and it is necessary that the common man should therefore understand and realize the significance of the teaching of the Prophet in order to establish a one peace. And coming then to the different classification of Islam, and we can say that it is being divided into two sects such as Shia and Sunni. The division in Islamic body was effected more on political than the ideological ground. The community of Islam was divided on the issue of finding the successor of Muhammad. One group chose Ali, the son-in-law of Muhammad, and called Shia. Another group, they selected another Khalifa from among followers of the Prophet as the successor of Muhammad. They are therefore called Sunnis. Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman came in succession as Khalifa of the Sunnis. The basic difference between these two sects may be stated in the following way: that Shia takes the Quran as the supreme authority, and where the Sunnis they owe their allegiance to Sunnah, which contains the sayings and doings of Muhammad. Second difference you can find: the Shia hold that the Caliph is the spiritual head of the Muslims, but not the temporal chief. So the state and church should be separated. But on the other hand, Sunni accept that the Imam or the Caliph is the spiritual and temporal chief of the Muslims, and so that the church are linked together. State and church both are linked together. This is the difference. The other difference we find: the Shia maintains that the Imam or the Khalifa should always be appointed from among the descendants of Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet. The Sunni, on the other hand, therefore holds that the Imam, being the religious and the political chief of the state, must be elected by the people, taking their administrative ability into account. Next reference is that Shia further hold that the prayers of faithful are invalidated if the Imam happens to be guilty of any sinful act. But Sunnis do not accept so. They say that even if the Imam is found to be sinful while presiding over prayers, the prayer of the faithful are no way affected. So again, we find the Sunnis accept only one Imam as the spiritual leader of the country at one particular time. But Shias, they accept more Imam at a time. These are the basic differences which you find between Shia and Sunni, and these are the two different religious groups to which Islam is therefore being divided. And this is how we can really say we can come to this conclusion of this particular Islam as a religion, where we find that Islam is a prophetic religion, which therefore give importance on the prophets, particularly Muhammad, who is therefore is a prophet and who has therefore tried to spread the message of God to the common people and try to save them from the clutches of social, economic, and political um, debacles. And he therefore has given the concept of the God, that is Allah, in Quran, and the man, world, all these concepts. They are so that is therefore they've been explained so nicely that therefore gives a very clear picture of this religion, which is therefore is a prophetic religion, and in some way, though it is different from that of other religions of the then time. This is your Christianity, sorry, Islam. Now let us come to the next other religions. And other religions, as I already told you, Zoroastrianism. Let us discuss this Zoroastrianism first. And there are four religions to be discussed, and we shall be therefore a little bit choosy in discussing some of the aspects of all these four different type of religions. Let me take a glass of water first. Okay. Zoroastrianism, also otherwise known as Parsi religion, Parsism, and this is also a prophetic religion that it is being professed by Prophet Zoroaster. It is also known as Zarathustra, Thustra, Zarathustra or Zoroaster. He is the prophet who was therefore um, professed this particular religion known as Zoroastrianism. And Zoroastrianism believes that there is one universal and transcendental God, and that God is known as Ahura Mazda. But it is in a way equated with other major religions of the world, like that of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, and Islam. Then some concepts such as the sacrificial rituals, conflicts between good and evil, God as the creator, day of judgment, resurrection, that is the resurrection of the dead bodies, and the all other different concepts we find some sort of similarities being there with other religions. And Zoroastrianism is, in general usage, essentially synonymous with Mazdaism. Mazda means because Ahura Mazda, who is therefore considered as the god, and therefore it can be said to be Mazdaism. And and they are mostly commonly being known as the Zarathustri or Zoroastrians. And anyway, this is the religion which is being followed by the people of the Parsis, and therefore this religion also known as Persian religion or Persian religion, we can better say. Anyway, this religion, particularly in the eastern and south region of the Iranian world, and that was the great mountain range in the Hindu Kush mountain range, and that is therefore now is named as Iran, Iraq, and that particular place, and that Afghanistan, and there the Zoroastrianism that have been therefore uh, found. And Zoroaster, who is the founder of this religion, he left home at the age of 20, and at 30 was subject to a revelation which was an intense and powerful inspiration and a vision. And later, Zoroaster was a prophet, and he was speaking to God and hearkening to his reply. He is called the friend of truth as he honors God, and he became an enemy of his fellow beings. And because of that, he was therefore being put into prison by the then king. Later on, anyway, he was therefore being exposed, and the king was also became the follower of that particular religion. This is with regard to Zoroaster and this Zoroaster, Zarathustra, who is the founder of this. Zoroastrianism was the first religion which believe in single a day of judgment. All these are single reality, angels, the day of judgment, Saturn figure, and all these are therefore the concepts which we find in all other religions. That is therefore the first religion which have therefore introduced and realized these concepts. Coming to the concept of God in Zoroastrianism, I can better say that it is a monotheistic religion, and monotheism, as you know, that believes in one God, which is worshipping God. And here, the God is known as Ahura Mazda. The God is known as Ahura Mazda. That is the wise Lord. And the sacred book which we find in Zoroastrianism is known as the the Gatha, and there are 17 hymns believed to have been therefore composed by Zarathustra himself. Therefore, they are being there in the occupies the most important place in the Zoroastrian faith. Ahura Mazda is described as the creator because he is the God. He has created everything, and that can and cannot be seen, representing all that is eternal and pure. And therefore, everything has created, whether it is seen or not to be seen. Anyway, so um, according to the Avesta, Avesta is the sacred text of Zoroastrian Avesta. The Gathas and the Yasna, there are various characteristics of Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda is having therefore different characteristics, which have been therefore being described in the sacred books particularly known as the Avesta and the Gathas. So Zoroaster addressed Ahura Mazda with the following terms: truth, good, thought, devotion, power. Other qualities associated with God are therefore wholeness and immortality. These are all attributes which have been attributed to God. That is Ahura Mazda. And he is also wise Lord or his beneficent spirit. Although the supremacy of Ahura Mazda suggests a monotheistic worldview, later on we find Zoroastrians seen in the Aset, that is collection of 21 hymns. Each of these hymns invokes a specific divinity or concept. And you find some sort of polytheistic elements are being there, but anyway, we find it is a monotheistic religion. And here we find two Menius and Dominic creatures called um, Daves, all of which are therefore taught to exist beneath Ahura Mazda. They are known as the Spenta menu and other is known as your Angra menu. Spenta menu is therefore holy, it is therefore causes the sacred or holy, whereas Angra menu that is the cause of all sort of evils. This is the description which is being there, and later we find the Zoroastrian thought also postulates the existence of angelic beings, and these angels they are being named as the Amesa, Amesa Spenta, who are seen as emanations of Ahura Mazda. That means here Ahura Mazda is the god, and also they do believe in the angels, and this angel is being named as the Amesta Spenta. Okay, so this is the belief of their god, and with regard to the cosmology and eschatology, Zoroastrianism cosmology is dualistic, and everything has a dual nature, namely the spiritual aspect called as menon, and material aspect that is known as getting, gettings, which where the spiritual state is the ontological precedent of material existence. Anyway, this is the cosmological belief that the spiritual aspect and material aspect both are there, but spiritual aspect therefore um, that comes ahead of the material aspect. And as the balance between good and evil evolves on an individual scale within human beings, it also therefore progresses on the cosmic scale. That means here we talk about the good and evil, and that good evil not only that appears in the case of individual human being, but that in cosmic aspect also we come across this good and evil, and the statement itself will be marked by fire, which is considered to be the offerings of Ahura Mazda and the paramount instruction of Asa. Anyway, Western cosmology is also highly original in its speculations concerning the afterlife. Okay, it talks about afterlife. It is written in the Avesta that the soul can ascend to heaven by proceeding through the three steps. And the three steps, that is the three-step succession of celestial bodies that are linked to certain actions. Through good thoughts, they can attain the stars. Through good words, they can attain the moon. Through good deed, they can therefore attain the sun. In order to undergo this journey, the soul must first cross the Chinvat bridge or the bridge of separation. Souls just to be just by Mithra or uh, Straussa are allowed to cross and meet their Dina on an image of their own self, who is therefore disguised as in rebel teenage girl. I mean, this is how they have tried to explain, and that is a bridge. And those people who are engaged with this nobility and who are performing good activities, therefore they cross the bridge easily, and therefore they attend to the um, purity. That is, we can say, the attend to the God even heaven. But those who are engaged in the evil activities, they fail to cross that bridge, and therefore they go to that of the hell. Zoroastrian astrology is also necessary and consistent conclusion of the story of the creation. And here we find the end of individual life is the reflection of and conclusion of the course of human existence. The eschatological period marks the resolution of the cosmic struggle and brings to fruition the effort Aura Mazda assisted by the authorities and humanities to bring about the victory of the power of good. Anyway, this is the different descriptions which are being there. Aura Mazda therefore become the vindicated. The human beings thus is but a tool in the hands of the supreme power. So therefore, here the supreme power, that is the Aura Mazda, is having a very important place here, and therefore he creates man and others, and also he wants that the human beings um, they must be engaged in such activities which will therefore lead him to the heaven, and they must be delivered from that of the evil activities. And with regard to the fate and free will of the here we find that human is Ahura Mazda is one creation. That is, Ahura Mazda is the God who has created everybody, including that of man, and also he belongs by birthright to the kingdom of good. He is necessarily good. But God has created him free and endowed with the power of choose between the right and wrong. Already we have discussed this in connection to Islam, and that is also here accepted that man is being created by God, who is therefore the highest being in the world, and he possesses this freedom of choice and good and evil, good and bad, out of which he has to choose as per his freedom of will. And accordingly, God therefore becomes the savior of human beings. And if one performs the bad activities, then therefore he is put into hell. And whereas the good activities leads to one to the heaven. That is the freedom of choice. Man, man has to exercise, and accordingly, either he will go to heaven or hell, and that is because of his own activities or own days. And then, with regard to these rituals and festivals, and we can really say the the main prayer and our Vairya, that is known as the most sacred uh, Gathic hymns of the Avesta, and therefore they make use of these prayers and other things, and that is the part of their prayer and rituals. So, when sun has set and the cold, dark night begins with rain, then the firelight is lit. This is a particular festival, and that is known as Navjot or initiation. Navjot is the initiation ceremony of the Parsis, Parsi child into the fold of Zoroastrianism. This is therefore one particular festival. Similarly, the priesthood and the rituals, that is another, that in a religious matter, the priesthood was supreme in authority, and the uh, sacred sacerdotal order was therefore hereditary. And this is the funeral ceremony is also there. Funerally, you know very well that during the uh, when the body dies, therefore the funeral ceremony that takes place, and here therefore washing in such a central point of purification rituals. Therefore, conversely, physical corruption invites spiritual corruption. Decomposition is traditionally viewed as the work of demon known as this Druj I Nosar, and the corrupting influence of this process is viewed as contagious and spiritually dangerous. As such, Zoroastrian therefore funeral customs are primarily focused on keeping contagion away from the community. Anyway, they do not um, they always in favor of this funeral, that when the dead bodies are being put into fire, and that therefore is a ceremony which is being observed there. And with regard to festivals, Zoroastrians has, according to their calendar, a number of festivals are there, and they also being celebrated in different seasonal festivals, or so to say, um, besides that, they have different celebrate different celebrations and festivals in with regard to that of the Avrama is the or the god. So, in brief, we can really say that this particular religion, known as Zoroastrianism, or that therefore is that therefore is the religion which is the um, being followed by the um, people of this Afghanistan and this Iran, which this is famous. And anyway, um, this religion now still is found in different places, but this is not as wide as other religions, world religions. Again, let us come into the Taoism. Taoism is a religion which therefore uh, developed in particularly Eastern Asia, particularly that have developed in China. We can witness this is therefore have come in the China, and this Taoist emphasizes various themes found in the uh, Dao Jing and Zhuangzi, and all these are there for the uh, thinkers with regard to this particular religion and philosophy. And Tao, we can find Tao can be roughly stated. It is to be the flow of the universe or the force behind the natural order, equating it with the influence that keeps the universe balanced and ordered. It is that's considered to be the source of both existence and non-existence. Tao is also associated with the complex concept of they. They means power, virtue, integrity. That is the active expression of Tao. And with regard coming in the Taoist conception and the symbols, we can say Tao is the first cause of the universe. It is a force that flows through all life. Tao surrounds everyone, and therefore everyone must listen to find enlightenment. A believer, a believer's goal is to harmonize themselves with the Tao. Tao is therefore the reality here. Taoism. The priesthood views the many gods and manifestations of the one Tao. There is no God to hear the prayer or to act upon them. They seek answer to life's problem through inner meditation and outer observation. Time is cyclical, and therefore Taoists strongly promote health and vitality. And five main organs and the orifices of the body correspond to the five parts of the sky. Five parts: the sky, water, fire, wood, metal, and earth. Each person must therefore nurture the chi, that is the air, breath, that has been given to them. The three jewels to be sought are compassion, moderation, and humility. These are therefore the ethical aspect. One should plan in advance and carefully consider each action before making it. Taoists believe that people are compassionate by nature and left to their own devices, they will show this compassion without expecting any reward. That is the Taoist belief that man is necessarily divine and therefore he is left to himself. He therefore engaged himself in all sorts of activities which are therefore compassionate and is not therefore evil by itself. The main symbol of Taoism is yin yang, representing the balance of opposite in the universe. When they are equally present, all is calm. When one is outweighed by the other, there is therefore confusion and disarray. This is the yin yang, that is the symbol, which therefore symbolizes for balance, and that therefore symbolizes for the peace. But when there is a disbalance between them, therefore that points out there is a disharmony, and therefore there is a confusion and disarray. One source explains that it was derived from the astronomical observances which records the shadow of the sun throughout the full year. The two swirling shapes inside the symbol give the impression of change. The only constant um, factor in the universe. One tradition states that yin, that is the dark side, represents the breath that form the earth. Yang, that is the uh, light side, symbolizes the breath that form the heaven. The most traditional view is that yin represents the aspect of the feminine being soft, cool, calm, introspective, and healing, and yang, the masculine, that therefore is hard, hot, energetic, moving, and something sometimes aggressive. Again, another view is also we find that is the view which has the yin representing the night and young to day. This is the difference we can find. This yin and young. This is the symbol which therefore symbolizes in that is being believed in different ways. Ultimately, the yin and yang can symbolize any two polarized forces on nature. Taoist believes that human often intervene in the nature and upset the balance um, of yin and yang. This is the Taoist belief. Then coming into rituals and ceremonies, particularly here, we find Taoists they do have their temples, their monasteries, and also they have the priests. They have also rituals and ceremonies, and a host of gods and goddesses, and they also worship the gods and goddesses. They are as vital to the survival of Taoism as individual understanding and practice. The temple is the center of worship. That means Taoists they worship in the temples. Another ritual among Taoist devotees, which is done on Wednesday and Sundays, is the climbing of its 81 steps, and that represents the 81 chapters of Taoist scripture. Taoism, which have scripture, which is having 81 one chapters, and this symbolizes by riding or this is 81 steps. This is another ritual which they also um, follow. And Taoism's rich palette of liturgy and ritual makes the Tao more real to human being and provides a way in which humanity can align itself more closely to Tao to produce better lives for all. Most Taoist temple practices are designed to regulate the relationship between humanity and the world of gods and spirits, and to organize that relationship and the relationships in the spirit world, the harmony with the Tao. This is therefore their belief. Therefore, they perform different rituals um, and also they follow different ceremonies, and it is because of to make human being good and to be related to that of God. In Taoism, rituals are meant in to bring harmony to the universe. That means in the universe, the society, the state, nation, individual, all are there, then there must be harmony among all of them. That is the whole reason because of which the rituals are being um, performed by this Taoist or Taoism. They pray to deities and there are ceremonies of purification, meditation on uh, talismans and making offering to deities as well. Usually, priests and their assistants perform Taoist rituals. That means here they believe in priest, and this priest they perform their rituals. The Chiaos, or that is also sometimes known as Jiao, is an important Taoist ritual for cosmic revival and consists of various rituals. In this case, each family brings offering to the deities, and they are therefore dedicated to them through a ceremony by a Taoist priest. Then the priest performs the ritual, and thereby all these the offerings which have been brought by the different individuals that are therefore being offered to the god. The ceremony also involves rituals asking for order for the universe and for the village. Through temple rituals, Taoists seek to stabilize the yin and yang for individuals and the community. Therefore, rituals are being performed to live in peace and happiness, and that is therefore being performed for the to stabilize the young, yin and yang, and not for only the individual but for the society also. That is the most important thing we find. And Cheng Shui, which is an ancient Chinese system of aesthetic belief to use the laws of both heaven and earth to help one improve life and fortune telling are also part of that. That means here this particular faith is there. That means they perform such rituals to have the life both to lead a life both in peace and happiness here and hereafter. Then let us come into the relation between God and human being. In Taoism, there is no supreme God. Thou, the way, is the core of Taoism, or that is also sometimes known as Taoism, because Tao is being taken as the way. There is no supreme God. It is said that Tao is the origin of the universe and the basis of all existing things. The law of governing their development and change, and the ultimate force of Taoism, the concept of virtue, that is they, is closely related to Tao. Everyone therefore respect Tao, it values um, virtue, everything. That means Tao here is being taken as the supreme, but there is no called, nobody is there is being called as the supreme God. So therefore, here Tao is being accepted by them as the real, and everything therefore respect Tao's it values, and virtue has different connotations, meaning that virtue is the specific manifestation of Tao in specific things. Taoists understand that the universe flows with purpose, and human beings should go with the flow of destiny or fate in order to have a fulfilled life. So therefore, they also believe in fate, and everybody they have to um, fulfill their life with the help of the fate to maintain or recover a natural alignment between the humanity and the world. Many performed self-cultivation techniques. Such techniques could improve one's health and potentially even lead to immortality. They also promoted order and harmony within the community. If a human divine deviate from the natural order, they bring therefore destruction upon themselves and also about around them. That means the natural order that has to be obeyed by each and every individual, and that is the order which has been made by the Taos. And if one goes against this natural order, and therefore that brings hazardous consequences for the man himself and also about to his surroundings. And concept of human nature in Taoism are thus intimately connected with the body. Therefore, in an individual's body is also the body of the world. That means here, individual body is being given much more importance, and individual has to take care of his body, and that body therefore is some way or other being equated with the social body, or that is the body of the world. Thus, the purpose of existence for everyone is to improve oneself. Improve here means that one has to improve himself in the form of body, that is physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and that therefore will benefit one and also to all. That is um, the ethical aspect when we will say that they points out man and God they are so related that one has to therefore act with the good for the self and for the society. This is in brief. This is your um, Taoism. Then let us come then to the other. two religions known as Confucia- Confucianism and Shintoism. What is this Confucianism? You might have heard the name of Confucius, who belongs to China, and this religion is being established by him, and so this religion is known as accordingly the Confucianism. Okay. So this Confucianism and the meaning of this is known as the school of the scholars, and it is an ethical and philosophical system gradually originated from the teaching of Confucius, and that therefore developed in the eastern part of the Asia, and mostly we find this is found in China. Confucius, you might have heard his name, and he is a man in China, and therefore this Confucianism is developed in China. To give a more comprehensive metaphysical concept, New Confucianism had come to integrate the Taoist and Buddhist. Because you know very well, Taoism is also being found there in China, and Buddhism also they are in the China, and this Buddhism and Taoism that have been therefore um, um, integrated together, and that therefore given it to New Confucianism. Anyway, let us see what is the religious framework, and it is a religion. It is a one without positive revelation with a minimum doctrinal dogma. The dogma aspect is here is very low, in which the worship is centered more on the offering to the dead. Dead. The notion of duty lies much beyond the proper morals to include almost a detailed account of everyday life. The ancient times of China during the life of Confucius saw the prevalence of a nature worship tendency towards a monotheistic tradition, and it is to this following that Confucius adhered to. Nature worship means they are worshipping the nature. That is therefore to some extent like that of nature worship which we find in our tradition, in Hindu tradition, nature worship was there. But during this Confucius, we find in China this nature worship is there, and that therefore is being accepted by Confucius, and the nature gods, the nature worship doesn't mean therefore there will be one god. Definitely in nature, one therefore prays to different gods like that of god of the air, god of the fire, god of water, and god of forest. So many gods are there, and that is known as the nature worship. And the nature gods were all therefore respected and worshipped for 4 quarters of the heavens. The moon and the stars were also under the direction of the supreme human heaven god that is known as Tien, or the Sangti, that is the supreme lord. This is they do perceive that supreme lord is one, which is known as the Sangti, or that is known as Tien, and all other lords or gods that are gods of nature. They are not supreme, but this is the supreme god. That is one. That's why it is sometimes also being known as monotheism. The other spirit worked under him, and this framework, like ministers, in complete obedience. That means you need in the government you'll find somebody is a king and others are the ministers, and therefore they are to obey the commands of the king. So also in the similar vein, here they accept that one supreme being is there, and that supreme being is known as the Sankti or in Tien, and other gods are there, and they are just like the ministers, they have to obey the supreme being. The Supreme Lord, therefore, exercising a Benign providence over man upholds moral law, being aware of everything done, even those in secret. Everything, therefore, whether you do something in secret or in open, that everything is known to him, and therefore he gives stress on upholding these moral laws. He dictated punishment to the evildoers by natural calamities, and therefore also the premature death, that is also a particular punishment to the evildoers, or by forcing misfortune on the impure and thus asserting moral order. So therefore, the moral order, as you know, in Indian context, we know Rita, that moral order, universal moral order. He talks about the moral order. In order to retain this moral order, the evildoers, therefore, they are put into punishment in different forms. The tradition of the strong patriarchal system was an offspring of the religious belief of the happiness and glory of the patriarchs depended on a great extent on the right conduct of their living offspring. It was therefore considered the duty of the living descendants to contribute to the glory of the dead ancestors by right conduct. That means one was to contribute the good deeds for the in his conduct for his ancestors, and that is the ethical codes which also being accepted by here in this particular religion. Though Confucius himself did not disregard this as a motive for rightful living, he stressed more on the love or the doing virtues for its own sake in the lines of Kantian concept of God, goodness. That means one has to good by himself, and that is therefore not in the strictest sense of religious aspect, but one must be good for himself. Therefore, he must follow the right conduct. It is why it is good because it is good. Therefore, it should be followed. The principle of morality and their applications to certain human situations in varied relations as envisioned by great sages of the past, though not revealed, have been therefore embodied in the sacred texts. The religion lacks positive divine revelation and thus is more of a wisdom and was providential as promulgated by the sages who were born with the wisdom of the heavens to instruct men in goodwill. And therefore, this is accepted as a wisdom, but that is not revealed truth. Revealed truth means there is a, if there will be God, and God therefore will pass this truth, and that therefore reveal truth. But here, this is not so. This is the taken as the wisdom being realized by the so-called man of wisdom. Following the path of your rightness, as laid down by these sages, is humanly possible considering the basis good nature of man, which is not irreversibly corrupted by various influences. Confucius considered man to be good in nature and did not heed much even to the natural tendency for evil. That is, the human nature is very good, and therefore naturally man does not therefore um, induce for the evil. But in situations sometimes he may go for the evil, but he is necessarily good. There are no references in the writings about any extremely caused downfall of man, and hence humanity standing in need of a redeemer to take him to his days of past glory, thus lacking any history of salvation. Though there is a mention of prayer at the few instances in the scriptures, no obligation is made as to the compliance of having everyday prayer. And therefore, prayer is not there mentioned anywhere, but one may take it as a prayer, but that is not mentioned anywhere in the scriptures or in the literature. The Chinese notion of sacrifice is just the offering of food, expressing the reverent homage to the worshippers and the concept of propitiation through blood is not relevant. In honor of the spirit, guests who are invited and are thought to enjoy the entertainment, solemn parties are held. Guests are being entertained. This is celebrated with a variety of food and drinks, accompanied by vocal and instrumental music and pantomimic dances. That is, they talk about the guests and they are to be entertained, but there is no such rituals. They therefore give importance on the food which to be shared with their guests. This is the practice, the offerings. Officiating minister of all these practices are not priests, but the head of family. All these are being performed by the head of the family, but not no priest is there. They are either family head or feudal head or king like this. So Confucianism not only hits to the immediate teaching of Confucius, but also the pre-existing writings of which Confucius gave his approval. His writings and other writings which were being there that has been approved by him, all they therefore being taken proper care of in this Confucianism. The sacred books as considered in the Confucianism is a collection of sacred writings, including those venerated even in the days of Confucius in traditional records, customs, and rites sanctioned under the patronage of Confucius. These are therefore there are two categories of writings: the king, that is the classics, and the sut, that is the book. That means here the with regard to these texts, that you find the writings of Confucius and other writings also approved by Confucius, Confucius. They therefore being taken as um, their text. So therefore, here broadly the categories under which this text are being put. One is the king, that is the classic text, and the other is the book, that is the sut. The five classics text are like this: Shu Jing, Xing Jing, I Ching, Chun Jing, and Li Jing. These are there, and the four books are that is Lu Niu, Chung Yun, Tang, Huish, and Mengjiu. These are all different books, and that is to be remembered. And with regard to that, it is being considered as a religious virtue. It is being considered as religious religion of virtue. Virtue, you know that man possesses all different virtues, and this religion therefore gives much more importance on the practice of the virtues. Confucius therefore looks upon the formation of man of learning and good manners who combine the qualities of saint, scholar, and gentleman. By the religious practice, more of a comprehensive development of the humanness rather than a religious formation was envisaged. Hence, the right rituals and all that is therefore based on the human virtues. It cannot be separated from the everyday life of man, and therefore man must be take care of all the practices and other than his religious life. So, so the books promoted ritual strongly. Confucius was for taking it more in their spirit, often even compromising them with necessity. Right stands for the complex set of ideas. Its Confucian meaning ranges from the politeness and propriety to the understanding of everybody's correct place of, in society. So here what we find that the rituals are being there and religion, most emphasis is on given on the virtuous practices of human life. So therefore they must follow the virtues, human virtues, and that human they must therefore be conscious of their duties, responsibilities, and they must conscious about the that what is expected from them, and therefore the formalized behavior become progressively internalized, and developing the virtues of one's life is to be of ultimate important, and that's why right knowledge and anything conducive for the development of virtuous life of man, that is therefore is being highlighted. And vices sprang from ignorance, and therefore virtue is to be inculcated and followed and practiced in one's life, and vices that has to be given up. So therefore, this religion gives much more importance on this virtuous life. So it gives importance on benevolence. Then it's also the propriety. Mm, propriety. Propriety here means that reverence, reverence to um, others, and so also it gives importance on loyalty, um, and empathy. Empathy, that's sympathy. That means you also give importance on the empathy. These are all their virtues, and also the pity, that also being taken into account. All these are therefore the virtues which are being emphasized by this particular religion, that human beings they must follow, and thereby they will become virtuous and become free from all sort of evils, and coming in the relationship with the Confucianism, and these are the relations which are to be taken proper care of, and like the ruler and subject, father, son, husband, wife, elder brother and younger brother, friend and friend to friend, they are all different relations, and these relations are to be also um, maintained, discharging the duties and the obligations to each other. That is the relationship. So, this is in brief what is known as the Confucianism, and now let me just speak a few words on the other religion known as Syncretism. Almost we have reached at the end of the time. Now let us come to Syncretism. Syncretism is a particular religion which have developed in Japan. Uh, that is, it is an indefinable universal way that all pervading religion, and this is uh, the way of the kami or the kaminomichi, or known as that Shinto, is the name of the religion formed out of the light of the Japanese people, and that is therefore a great past. This was therefore confined into religious format at the face of threats posed by the invading religions, with an intention of organizing their course and places of worship. Shinto, by implying the spontaneous following of the way of Kami, who is known as the god, differs from other religions as it is but a way of living. And therefore, this religion is a way of living. How your life can be best led, that therefore is mostly emphasized not on the religious practices and others. So, uh, and has therefore still come to this day without much damage of its uniqueness and naivety. Understanding the religion of Syncretism, though it is not an ism, it's not an ism is theory, will therefore grant one a clear understanding of the Japanese culture and the nation. So, Syncretism is a particular religious culture, or it is a culture we can say which is practiced in Japan, which therefore gives a very clear picture of Japanese culture and their tradition, their nation. So Shintoism is derived of the complex philosophical debates, and it is therefore free from all sort of dogmas, blind faiths, and in imposing nature of the rituals. There is not a compulsion of rituals to be practiced. The Shinto is a natural and real spiritual force which therefore pervades the life of Japanese. And therefore, that has been taken as a religion which therefore leads their life and to live in the religion of the heart. So therefore, it is unlike other religions, is not therefore based on rituals, practices, prayers, but it is a gives a way of life and based on their culture and tradition, and therefore that lead them to lead a good life. Thank you. This is in brief, and I could not give justice to all the different philosophical religious religions because of the passage of time. And thank you all for your patient hearing for these 4 days. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let us depart.